Western civilization is moving closer to a point of irreconcilable, unstable equilibrium, as frighteningly increasing numbers of people trust nothing. Media, academia, and especially the governments are no longer held in high esteem. Regaining trust is often impossible after betrayal. However, transparency is essential to any healing process, and that is the essence of the Don Sullivan Show. Please listen to the team explore, probe, and debate cutting-edge science, technology, and computing. Play ball!
Welcome to a very special episode of the Don Sullivan Show. As you can hear, Don is currently on the road, and you're going to learn more about that very shortly. I'm your co-host, Jersey Steve. First, we want to thank our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by License Fortress, the industry's first and only software asset management firm to offer both a financial and legal guarantee at its highest level of service. Whether it's Oracle, Microsoft, or VMware, License Fortress helps organizations stay compliant, avoid audits, and save money. You can learn more at licensefortress.com. And please support our producer, our wonderful producer, Bill Axt, by visiting axtinc.com. That is AXTINK.com. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel and help support his efforts to create humorous animation, as well as run our website, all while researching a cure for baldness.
Well, welcome, folks, again to the Don Sullivan Show. I haven't been around in a little while. That's because I've made my way up to Alaska. We were on that cruise ship in the last episode, or an episode a few back. I'm not sure exactly how we have this scheduled. But again, this is Don Sullivan. I'm your host of the Don Sullivan Show. And my partner, Steve, is again not here, but you'll hear him make some comments at the top of the hour and at the end of the hour as well, and he'll have a lot to say. So today we are about 100 miles west of Anchorage, disaster. We are about 100 miles west of Anchorage, Alaska. No, I'm not at altitude, so I should be speaking correctly. But here exists a place of such balanced perfection that it defies description, even on the always overly descriptive Don Sullivan Show. Lake Clark National Park is an enormous national park and preserve with countless mountains, a 55-mile long glacial lake, and a seamlessly endless supply of sockeye salmon, along with all manner of other creature that we're going to be talking about here over the next 40 minutes or so. I've spent the last week on a catamaran houseboat on the lake, climbing some of those mountains that are around me and eating lots of salmon. Now I'm going to introduce you to some of those folks who made my Port Allsworth adventure possible and ask them some questions about this magnificent national park. But first, as always, at our lawyer's insistence, I need to read out the obligatory disclaimer waiver. I'm getting tired of, but I still have to read it out. So all statements by the hosts and guests on the Don Sullivan Show are the personal opinions of the host and those guests who all agree that the following content is the property of Xanalytics LLC to be used publicly and exclusively on the Don Sullivan Show. And everybody shaking their heads around me, and anybody else who will be on it is also shaking their heads because I've told them off air. And so we are going to move on. So thank you all for listening, and let's get going. So let's all say hello to Captain Dennis Fowler, owner of Sailing Lake Clark and the captain of the Odyssey, the catamaran that we have been sailing on all of this week. Say hello, Dennis.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here talking to Don today. I've been listening to his show for a while, and it's good to get a chance to visit with him tonight.
So Dennis, tell us about Lake Clark, the national park itself, and the community. What makes it so special? I know you've been here a long time.
Yeah, I got here in 1997. I was 17 years old, came up for a summer job. Just kind of a transition period, getting the adventure in before I started a career. And I liked it so much that I've been here year-round ever since. Got married, had a son, and we just bought this boat in 2022. So we're taking people on adventures.
Well, what about the park itself? What is tell us about what makes this park so special, not just to you, but in general. It's a pretty obscure national park. It's in Alaska, so most of those of us who live in the lower 48 don't get to experience it. But it's an overall incredible place. What do you find so compelling about it?
Well, it's one of the least visited national parks in the U.S.
But it's one of the biggest.
It's also one of the biggest. There are no roads. There's no way to get here except by small aircraft.
Which is how we got here.
Yep. And so there's the few communities that exist in the park are small and close knit. Everybody helps each other. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows everybody's dirty little secrets, but we love each other anyways. And it's raising our son here is something that we couldn't do anywhere else in the world. He's grown up just loving where he lives, loving the outdoors, loving the adventure, loving sharing what he has with others. And that's made us happy.
So Dennis, something you just said to me is just amazing. You just said there are no roads here, yet I'm on a 50-foot catamaran houseboat. This wonderful experience, and has 4 full cabins in it. Want to give me the short story on how you got this thing here?
The short story. We bought it in the British Virgin Islands and sailed it.
It's a long way, Dennis. It's a long way.
We sailed it through the Panama Canal, past the Galapagos Islands, west along the equator for a couple of weeks, then north to Hawaii. Spent a couple of weeks in Hawaii doing repairs and provisioning, then up north to Alaska. Came through the Alaska island chains into the west side there, came up to King Salmon, and then up
King
to,
Salmon's a town here.
Yeah, it's a town by Katmai where you were went bear viewing the other
We'll be
day.
having this Don Sullivan show on Katmai in a couple of episodes.
Pretty amazing place. But from there we came up the Kwijak River to Lake Iliamna. Touched ground a couple of times coming up that river, so it barely made it up there. We had a trailer specially modified for the boat because between Lake Iliamna and Lake Clark, there's no way to get a boat this size. There is a river, but there's rapids on it, so we had to portage it over an unimproved dirt road on a trailer, and that's a whole story in its own. Just all the troubles we had with that, but we got it onto Lake Clark.
And not only is that a story, what's your website, Dennis?
It's lakeclarkalaska.com.
So, folks, you too can have a multi-week adventure on sailing Lake Clark. And even if you don't do that, you need to go to that website and you need to watch the video on how Dennis and his crew got this boat through the Alaskan wilderness onto this isolated, albeit huge, lake. It is worth a Netflix special on how that actually happened.
Yeah, because there's no boats like this here. There's no way to get boats like this here. It was an impossible feat, and
Apparently not impossible.
I still can't believe we did it.
So, Dennis, tell me also, though, in a boat that was born in the tropics, what's it like sailing year-round, and how long can you sail in the frozen tundra waters of Lake Clark in south central Alaska?
Yeah, so the lake freezes here, so we haul out. We use the same trailer, and we pull out beginning of October, usually around October 1st. And we park it next to our house where I do maintenance on it all year, do upgrades and modifications, winterize it, make sure all the water systems stay safe. And then we're able to launch again in the spring, usually around the middle of June, depending on when the water rises up high enough to launch, which depends on how much snowfall and the glacier melt and things like that. The lake fluctuates probably 6-8 feet between summer and winter in elevation.
So it actually drains out into the ocean through the rivers, the various different rivers that have rapids.
And in the winter, there's nothing filling it, so it gets lower.
So, what kind of wildlife's around here, Dennis?
What kind of wildlife isn't there? We will always see eagles here.
Yes, we do.
There's brown bear, black bear, lynx, wolf, coyote, fox, wolverine. We saw an owl today.
Wolverine, I thought that was only in comic books. So real?
Yeah, those are real. They're nasty, nasty little creatures. They'll fight anybody, anything. We saw an owl while we're out on the river today.
Yes, we did.
Lots of birds.
So what's it like?
Moose, caribou.
What's it like at night around your homes when you have? And I will tell you, folks. Obviously, setting up a lot of these questions. There's a lot of bear around here. I was on a hike the other day up. What's the name of it? Mount Temelian, and this black bear just ran right in front of us. But there's a lot bigger bears than that. And I know, Dennis, you've dealt with some of them within the community of Port Ellsworth. How do you do that? How do you deal with that many black bears at night, just kind of brown bears, big brown bears, grizzly bears, coastal brown bears, I guess is the proper term, wandering around your town?
First thing everybody that's around here knows is if you make a lot of noise, they'll probably leave you alone. However, when a bear gets into the village and learns that there's garbage to get into, or people's fish that they've been cutting they can get into, things like that, they'll become a problem. And there's the young guys in the village, they'll get a permit, and a village permit, and if there's one that's causing a problem, they'll take care of it and take it to the Park Service and turn it in for them.
Okay. I imagine you need pretty serious weaponry to take one of them down if they're causing a danger to life and limb, we'll say.
Oh yeah, they're well armed.
Well, what about the rest of the community? What is it like living here? It's almost the 10 days that I spent here right now. This almost seems like America might have been 100 years ago. Very, very simple and not quite living day to day, but everybody seems to know each other and everybody seems to work with each other.
Yeah, everybody's willing to help each other.
You have like 5 jobs, which I'll ask you about here, along with running this very successful and impressive business. So go ahead, tell me about it.
It's a very close-knit community. It's everybody helps each other. Everybody works hard. Everybody has a mix of subsistence and modern incomes and ways of life. People cut wood, people hunt, people do all that, but then they're working their normal jobs as well to make the money to buy the food. They're paying freight to get out here since you can only fly here.
I was going to ask you about that. How do you get supplies here?
People pay $1.10 a pound to fly stuff out here. So if you want groceries, you can fly to Anchorage, pay $500-600 for a ticket to Anchorage, go shopping.
What about Amazon?
Amazon will ship here.
Amazon will ship here. Do you have UPS planes coming in here? Amazon planes, or is it?
So it's the United States Postal Service will bring here. So Amazon will deliver to the post office in Anchorage, and then the post office delivers it here. Usually about a week slower than they would get it to Anchorage.
Okay. Well, you work incredibly hard. You have 4 different jobs other than the captaincy of the Odyssey, and that's, I guess, what your primary occupation is during the time between October and June.
Yeah.
And I know you're an airplane mechanic, but you do a lot of other things too.
Yeah, I'm an airplane mechanic. I work for the power company here, maintaining their generators and helping on them with the power there. We have our basement's listed on Airbnb. My wife, she's a school teacher. She also does administration for the electric company. She does administration for the village here. So she's doing as much or more than me.
And I know she has set up most of the meals and a lot of the social activities that we have had here during the week.
It's been done
it extremely well. So what about during the dark months? I mean, obviously we're here and it's we're recording this near midnight, and it's still light, and it's August. But in a few months, it's going to be pretty dark.
Yeah.
And there are going to be probably 30 days in which you have, an hour of sun a day or something along those lines?
In the winter, typically, it's light. It's lightish enough to do stuff outside from 10 to 3, 10 to 4. But I walk to work in the morning in the dark, and I walk home at night in the dark. And so, when I'm working as an aircraft mechanic, I never see light.
And that, of course, has to do with the latitude of where we're at here and Anchorage and so on. And other aspects of that are just, we've loyal listeners of the Don Sullivan Show know very well that the tree line in Denver, Colorado, is about 11,800 feet. Well, it's about 2,500 feet here, where all the trees just stop and they become willows, and then it all goes away completely. So it's a very interesting, different environment. To not digress too much, Dennis, what else happens when it's that dark all the time? Or for months?
The residents here, we work hard in the summer. You're working, a lot of people are working 20-hour days all summer, and you catch up in the winter, so you rest more.
So you're hibernating like the bears?
Yes, to an extent.
Yeah.
Not completely. We're human, but but you definitely sleep more in the winter and work your butts off in the summer.
So one of the things that's amazing to me here is the air traffic, and they really just have two strips that the various prop planes come in and out of, but constantly. And I've noticed this day after day. Jersey Steve and I grew up in the shadow of New Jersey airports, and we aren't strangers to air traffic overhead continuously, but Port Ellsworth seems to have a continuous flow of air taxis and float planes. Does that happen in the winter too?
No, it slows. A lot of that is for tourism because we're in the park and because we're a midway point to Katmai and some of those other national parks as well from Anchorage and Seward. So a lot of those float planes will fly a tour to Katmai, and instead of taking enough fuel to do a full round trip, they fill that seat with another tourist, which they can charge more money for, and then stop here on their way back to get fuel so that they can make it back.
It's so funny. Dennis, I don't know if you remember this, but you said something hilarious the other day. We were walking around in the town, and you told us to look both ways before we crossed the runway.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever been told that before. Usually if I was walking across a runway at this point in the United States, there would be armed guards who would have me in chains and be dragged away very, very quickly. But it's a little very different out here.
It's like crossing the street here. If you want to go to the food truck on the other side, you got to cross. So you just look and make sure there's no planes landing.
So what's the best thing about living in both Port Ellsworth, I should say all three, Port Ellsworth, the park itself, but then also in a place this isolated?
For me personally, I don't like the city. I don't like the crowds, and I love the safety of the community here and the ability to raise our son the way that we have. That's, for me, family is the most important for me, and so that's because it is so beneficial to my family. That's the best part for me.
So we're gonna bring on my hiking guide, Lee, here in a little bit to talk about some of the geology and some of how this lake, as a glacial lake, was created, and some other of the scientific aspects here. But I'd like to end this segment up, Dennis, asking you what's one of the craziest things you've ever experienced, both running a business and hosting city people on a remote lake of this unfathomable continuous beauty?
You put me on the spot there, so I'm not going to think of anything. The craziest thing. One thing is we have a B&B. We rent our basement out. We do stuff with our guests down there as well. And just running into a family of bears on the trail, you come right around the corner and they're there. That gets your heart going. It doesn't matter if you've been here 25 years or your first day in Alaska. That's exciting.
And I think some of the rules are that generally they don't care, unless, of course, you have accidentally come between a mother and its cubs, which is the case with all species. But the bears are going to be
probably
very aggressive in that case.
An example of that would be probably the most irresponsible I've ever been. Is I was running. I was in a stage of working out, so I was running every morning before work. I was running up to the waterfalls and back, and doing
2 miles away each way.
Yeah. So I was jogging that. I can't say I was running the whole way because I'm not in great shape, but I was jogging / speed walking /
Look, we did it on a hike. It's not easy. You don't have to apologize. Just go ahead.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
I was exercising.
Yeah.
And so I had my earbuds in, head down, just putting in the miles, and came around a corner and there was a bear right there. I mean, I was probably 15 feet away from it. And I stopped. I was like, hey, and stepped back. And,
hey, bear.
And he looked at me and said, hey, and he stepped back and we went our own ways. And that's typically what's going to happen when you run into a bear.
Yeah.
Here in Alaska, I can't talk for other places, but here where they're not used to people and they run into a person, they're not interested in being involved. As long as their cubs aren't there.
Well, all right. Dennis, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for a great week and 10 days.
Yeah,
me and my party have been here, and thank you for being on the show. And like I said, folks, you really need to, first of all, just watch that video on how Dennis and his crew got this ship into this lake. It's absolutely incredible. It's one of those moments of human accomplishment that go unnoticed and obscured through all of the day-to-day life and unnoticed by the news, who is reporting on things that are much more globally dramatic. But this is an incredible story. So you should just go watch it. It's a short video. And then when you want to go and find your way around Alaska, when Dennis and I met, a year ago, I was just looking to do some more things outside of Anchorage, and I was putting them together myself and happened to get in email contact with Dennis. And Dennis said, hey, you know what? You don't need to figure out all those things yourself. Just do everything with me. And you know what? It totally made sense, and this has worked out extremely well. And we're going to have some other folks on here in a few minutes to talk about some other aspects, including Dennis's son, about what it's like to grow up here on this show. So give me a minute and we'll be back. And Dennis, I want to thank you for being on and talking to the vast audience of the Don Sullivan Show.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, hi, folks. I'm back. This is another amazing day here at Lake Clark National Park. I'm with my stupendous and expert and amazing guide, Lee Payne from Chalitna Lodge. He is the chief and main guide, and we've just descended from the amazing Mount George, which is across the lake from Mount Tenalian. You can pronounce it right, Lee. Tenalian. And he took me up that about 5 days ago, and we survived both of them. And it was absolutely amazing. It's very, very different, of course, than the hiking you do and the climbing you do in Colorado for a whole bunch of different reasons. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So now that we're down, I want to ask Lee some questions because he really is an expert on this area. So tell me, Lee, he's an amazing expert in this area, and he's getting heckled from the crowd at the moment. But the crowd here is tremendously enthusiastic. So it's not just the vast listening audience of the Don Sullivan Show; it's the present audience here in the obscure Lake Clark region. So Lee, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing here. But then I also want to know, how why is Lake Clark here? How is it formed, and what is it? What happens every year? Tell me about yourself.
Oh yeah. Okay, I've been a rock climbing guide in Central Texas for about 10 years now.
It's a very different
Yeah.
environment in
Very
Central
different
Texas than here in
Yeah.
Central Alaska.
But a couple years ago, my girlfriend was following Chilitna Lodge on Instagram as they do an artist residency at the beginning of end of each season. And they had a 2-part job opening for manager and maintenance man/guide. And our resumes fit the bill pretty well. So we
So now
were a
you're here.
natural fit, and now I'm here.
Now you're here. So what do you know about this place? How is it formed geologically and environmentally?
Yeah, it was formed by a glacier. Who knows how many years ago? Millions?
Millions.
Billions?
This is pre-Younger Dryas. This is pre-Wisconsin glacial period and so on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's carved the deep V-shaped lake through the mountains here between the Alaska Range and the Aleutian Range. In the middle of the lake, that's
So was I was just climbing the Alaska Range?
actually on that side on the southern side of the lake is kind of the northern end of the Aleutian Range, which extends down to the mountain into the Aleutian Islands. And then on the lake, or on the Chilitna Lodge side of the lake, is kind of the southern end of the Alaska Range.
So I got both
So
of
yeah,
them.
you got
huh?
you
Holy
kind
cow.
of got a little bit of both.
You guys have really stepped up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you think, how? Tell us about the lake itself. I've heard it's nearly 1,000 feet deep.
Yeah, it
but-
is. Estimates put it between 850 and 1,000 feet deep in places in the middle. It's fed from glacial melt in Lake Clark Pass. The seasonal melt, the level of the lake changes from the beginning to the middle of the season. It comes up. Our beaches probably 4 to 5 times.
That's not due to global
As wide.
warming.
No,
No, that's just due to
Yeah.
glacial melting.
Yep, it's just
okay.
seasonal
That happens.
glacial.
That's normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seasonal glacial melt
Mhm.
for that part. And yeah, the lake comes up and down 20 or so feet every season.
So the weather has been absolutely great here. There's been virtually no wind or cold whatsoever. So that's normal for.
Completely.
That's completely normal
completely
all year
abnormal.
round here,
Yeah,
right? For this.
Totally. It's definitely never gray and cloudy and rainy for weeks on end here ever. No. Yeah, it's been very sunny this July actually compared to last year. Last year it would rain for weeks in a row. But we've had some really kind of unseasonably sunny days this month. It's July.
So tell us about the wildlife here. The bears and the moose all around this particular camp, and
Yeah.
and then what's swimming in the water is amazing.
Yeah, in the water we mostly get pike, lake trout, grayling, and then right now we're in the middle of the salmon run. So the sockeye salmon are coming in from the ocean to go spawn at
And
the
it's
lakes.
it's really just sockeye here,
Yeah.
not the others. It's
Yeah.
well, why is that? It's just that's what happens to be here.
Yeah, this is where they were born, so this is where they come back.
We're going to have a number of different Don Sullivan shows about exactly why that is,
All right.
and why GPS systems don't work as well as the salmon's homing systems, as
Yeah.
to go exactly
true.
where
5
where
to 10
they
feet away.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. I've been to hatcheries where they don't have to do anything. They just basically hatch them and let them go out to the ocean and they come back to exactly where they were born,
It's wild.
and they get harvested. It's kind of sad that they don't get to complete their life journey, but
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing how incredibly accurate they are. Okay, so other than climbing and hiking, being a guide in these mountains, or flying off to Crescent or Turquoise Lakes, what we're going to tomorrow, what's your favorite thing to do around here?
Around here, I just like to admire the beauty around the lake. Like I get a 270-degree view of beauty just from the main lodge porch here.
It's like it's 55 miles long, and,
Yeah.
and it looks like here about maybe 5 miles across.
Yeah, it's about, from here to Port Ellsworth is about 6 miles.
I know it's not the biggest lake in Alaska, but it's in the top 20 in the United States. And
Yeah.
in terms of volume, given it's 1,000
yeah.
feet deep,
Due to
it's
the shape,
enormous.
it's got a lot of
pretty
volume.
much got the same. I have read, you can verify this, even though it's not as much surface area as say Lake Erie, it's got pretty much the same amount of water.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
that's absolutely amazing, and it's wonderful water too. You can almost drink it right out of the lake itself, as long as you're not around some dying salmon.
Yeah, definitely. On the same hikes I guide up George, go there a few times just on my own, just to kind of do some trail maintenance and keep the path fresh. Down to the Kijik River. This is a really nice hike as well. Yeah.
So tell us what happened with your finger here.
Oh yeah. I had an encounter with a plant called cow parsnip, which has a skin irritant, all kinds of skin irritants.
So by encounter, he means as we were going through 8-foot high grass, and he was cutting it with a 4-inch knife with unbelievable alacrity. He missed one.
Yeah, I didn't get out of the way fast enough of a falling leaf, and it got some of its oils on me. And what it does is it changes the DNA of the skin that it touches.
All right, that's scary. It
Yeah.
changes the DNA.
Yeah, and until those cells regenerate, they are photosensitive, and any light that touches them, especially UV, will cause blisters that swell up.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt as much as it looks, but it is very annoying to kind of manage. And luckily, I just got a pretty small spot. I've seen instances of much worse cases, and it just really balloons up. The blisters are like nothing I've ever had before. In
Yeah.
size.
I'm sorry. I was probably right in back of you when that happened sometime a couple of days
Yeah.
ago. Well, somehow we made it down the steepness of Mount George due to your expertise and the expertise of the guides that you mentor here
Yeah.
at the lodge. And there was a couple of steps up there I wasn't really sure about it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of times I banged into a log. And I wasn't sure about that either.
Look at you.
But that was all pretty amazing overall. So what else? What else can you tell us? Like, let me ask you, what's one of the crazier things that's ever happened to you up here?
Okay. This place is just so nice and serene that most of the guests here are kind of self-selecting, and we get mostly people that aren't too much trouble. But we had some mechanical issues, like batteries going bad and having to get one ordered quickly and go across the lake
They
in
really
6
are.
to 8 foot swells. Yeah. On this little lake and our little boat, we've done some crazy boat crossings for sure.
And you got to get, as we were talking to Dennis earlier in this episode, and pretty much everything has to come in by bush plane from Anchorage.
Yeah.
One way or another. And, well, we'll be doing that tomorrow to Turquoise Lake, and we've got a couple other people to talk with. And for now, we're going to stop, and I'll get back to everybody. So thank you, Lee, for joining us, and thank you for successfully getting me up and down some of these mountains
No problem.
that certainly could have been more precarious without your expertise.
All right,
Thanks
thank you.
a lot.
Yeah, no problem, Don.
Bye. So we're back on the boat, the beautiful catamaran, the Odyssey, and we're basking in the midnight sun of even early August, Alaska and Lake Clark. And I thought it would be interesting to add some discussion here to include the all-purpose expert in so many things, but officially the cook on the Odyssey for our adventure here, Mr. Kelly Ballantyne. Say hello, Kelly.
Hey, how's it going?
So how'd you wind up on this ship with us?
So I'm a high school agriculture farming teacher and got the summer off and keep it open for opportunities to do some surveying, construction, work on farms and other adventurous things. And a friend of ours mentioned that they knew some people looking for a personal chef on a sailboat in Lake Clark, and if they knew anybody. So I said, sure. And within about an hour, me and Allison were talking on the phone as I was going fishing. So we were literally like backing a trailer. My wife finally said, you gotta get off the phone because we can't back the trailer, but we made tentative plans to do this. That was about 3 weeks ago.
So what I found with so many people in Alaska, from Dennis to Lee to many others, is that they do a lot of different things. In fact, they seem to respond positively to any opportunity or emergency or anything that comes up that they're needed for. And Kelly, we've also noticed here over the last week that you're very humble about this, but you are an expert fisherman. And one of the things we did yesterday that was pretty amazing to me is we actually caught some pike, and you had it, we accidentally, I think, but you had it fried up and we were eating it as appetizers within like an hour. So what's it like in this lake to catch salmon and pike and trout? And you seem to know all of the little nuances of how to do it and how not to. And I mean, you didn't even grow up here, but you know it. You know it. So what's it like to do all those things, to live with the land, so to speak?
I guess a lot of it is just being willing to listen and humble yourself and let people teach you. And my wife's family have been doing this for a long time. Her mom's actually Nupiaq, so they've been living off the land here forever, basically. And they taught me a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it's just observation, like talking to people and watching and just kind of looking for patterns in nature, that if something happens in one place, trying to figure out why is it happening here and would that also happen somewhere else. So a lot of looking for patterns. And with the pike we were talking about, there's a 15-minute video on how to fillet the pike, and Don just said you should just do it. And I filleted a lot of different kinds of fish, so we just went for it, and we had both the things filleted before that video would have been halfway over. So I think Don had the right idea, but a lot of it's just taking the time to realize when I moved up here, I didn't know anything about fishing really. So I guess I started coming up.
And you moved up here from Colorado?
Yeah.
And you were a teenager?
Well, no, I started coming up here in 2008. So I've been coming up here for 17 years, but I moved up here almost 10 years ago. So having some experience in moving up here and just really just trying to figure out how to work with the land here and with the respect.
And that seems to be the Alaska ethic, to work with, to live with the land, and to make the most out of every moment that you have sun in the summer, which is pretty much the entire day. And then I suppose hibernate in the winter.
Oh, yeah, you got it. So we're up at midnight right now. We'll be back up at 7 tomorrow on the next adventure. And this just keeps going. I'm going to land in Anchorage with 22 hours to spare before I have to go back to work teaching. And this is Alaska. You just go and go and go, and you sleep in the winter.
Until the sun runs out.
Yeah, in 4 or 5 months, whenever December, January, as well, 4-hour days, and you get all sorts of time to sleep then. So kind of like bears, go and sleep in the winter.
So a last question for you here. What's your favorite thing that you've learned here in Lake Clark? You haven't spent a lot of time in Lake Clark either. This is the first time that my group is here. What's the best thing that you've learned here, you think?
Well, so this is interesting. This is not what you'd think, but to sail. So I've always dreamed of sailing, and Dennis has taught me to sail. Once again, just being willing to humble yourself and listen to people and let them teach you what they know. And I've been having a ton of fun sailing, and just I feel like every time I'm in the same room as Don, I'm learning stuff. And I'm not so about Lake Clark, but just there's a lot to be learned. And
Kelly has become a loyal listener to and added to the vast audience of the Don Sullivan Show. What's amazing is we're on a ship that was born in the Caribbean, made its way through the Panama Canal, over to Hawaii, and up to Alaska. This is a very well-traveled ship.
This boat's seen some things. Yeah. We've heard some stories about this boat and covered in blood, bent booms, and man, it sounded like it limped into Alaska, just barely made it, but it's in tip-top shape now. Dennis he's very handy and put this thing back, put out the few things that were damaged back right.
All right, well, thanks a whole lot, Kelly. And to the audience, we're going to take another break here, but my next guest will be a very special, very interesting guest who is going to talk to you about what it's really like to live and grow up here. So hold on for a minute. Hi, folks. Welcome back. And thanks for listening in. This is the last day of our 12-day journey on the beautiful Odyssey on incredible Lake Clark. And the wind is blowing in the background in this early August day. And to close out this particular episode of the Don Sullivan Show, we wanted to get a very special guest on to help us end it out. So I have with me the future captain of the Odyssey, 15-year-old Mr. Landon Fowler. And say hello, Landon. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Landon, and I'm the son of Dennis and Allison, owners of Sailing Lake Clark, and I've grown up in Port Allsworth, lived here my whole life, and loved it.
So what's it like living here? Somewhat remote. You can only get here through float planes or planes that land on the dirt runways, and you have half the year where it's dark. What's it like living here?
It's amazing. There's nothing else like it. There's so many things you can do to explore and adventure, whether it's going out on the lake in a boat, whether it's snow machining up a mountain, or I have a...
Snow machining, you can tell he's from Alaska. We call them snowmobiles in the lower 48, but they're right.
And out here in Bush, Alaska, planes from the 30s and such are super common. I have a friend with, I forget exactly what year it is. I think it's either 37 or 39 Stenson, who last summer flew me. We went over to Nailing Falls, over Catamaran, went all the way up Lake Clark behind the mountains, and came out over Current Creek.
Is that your first time up in a bush plane like that?
I've been in a couple of Super Cubs.
But that was a friend of yours. How old was he?
Not quite. He's late 20s.
Late 20s. Okay, he was a seasoned veteran. All right, so Landon, tell us some crazy story about something that's happened up here that would not have possibly happened in the lower 48 or in any other place that is not as remote as this.
In the winters, you can get a snow machine with anywhere from 3 to 10 sleds behind it. And we have someone's parent driving the snow machine, or
someone's parent. We believe that, right, group? Yeah, okay.
Or an older teenager, someone who's capable of driving.
Someone really seasoned.
And we'd all ride on the sleds, and we'd get towed around on the snow, and we'd play essentially King of the Hill, but with sleds, trying to pull on the ropes and knock each other off, and trying to stay on. And
is that approved by the National Park Service?
I have no idea.
You don't need to ask around here is the point.
And it's always fun, and your goal
and always safe. They're always
super safe. I've only been ran over by a couple dozen sleds.
Run into any moose or bears when you're doing that?
Not while towing is what we call it, going towing. But being out on boats and planes, I've seen them.
Okay.
And then in typically springs and falls, you'll see them just while you're sitting at home, you'll see them come out of the woods.
Well, Landon, we will be following you and your progress through the captaincy of the Odyssey from the world headquarters of the Don Sullivan Show in my basement in Littleton, Colorado. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being an assistant tour guide. Thank you and your family and the entire staff of Sailing Lake Clark for an amazing adventure here. And it's time for us to go somewhere else. So, folks, we're going to leave you now. And I want to remind you, of course, as I always do, that even in Lake Clark, even in the most remote places in Alaska, all at bats are situational. So until next time.